Well, you're probably saying, oh, man, I'm really suffering right now because Adam keeps talking about suffering on the show. And you know what? It's part of life. So even if I weren't suffering, we'd be talking about suffering on the show. But this time you don't have to listen to me talk about it. I'm happy to have back with us Caitie Crowley, an author, a Covenant Network listener up in Peoria, Illinois, and someone who has certainly been through her fair share in life. You might remember the last time Caitie was with us, she shared her story of her auto accident that made her pretty dependent on a lot of people for a good chunk of time, and how God brought her through that, how her faith brought her through that. But Caitie, I'm glad to have you back with us on the show. I'm sad to say it's because the suffering doesn't just stop and go away forever. It's something that follows us everywhere we go in this earthly pilgrimage.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah, it's I would like to say I'm done and I moved on and I'm good until I'm 90, but unfortunately, that's not how life works.
Yeah. So recently you had to have another surgery on your knee, the one that was repaired after your accident, and it's reminded you there are limits to what we can do, and that's that's part of what we're going to talk about today. I've been going through a similar thing. Our listeners have heard. I get my injection therapy, and then for about 4 days, I'm out of commission because the side effects of the injection, the side effects of the drugs they give me for the side effects, everything, it just basically puts me into a haze where I feel half asleep for 4 days in a row. And the kids, Dad, can we do this? Or my wife, can we do that? And the answer is no, I can't. But I'm amazed at what God has worked through that. I don't know about you, but my forced encounter with no, I can't, finding those limits has really caused me to have to prioritize what is most important in my life. Because if I spend this time, I mean, silly as it is, I drank a soda for the first time the other day, and it took me out for the rest of the day, the side effects of it. It's like, okay, do I want a soda or do I want a great day with my kids? I'm giving up soda. It's just that easy. What's it been like for you, though, to hit those limits?
Yeah, that's very true. It's so challenging, right? Because you just want to live like your ordinary life, how you've been doing kind of what you please, right? If you want a soda, you do it. If you want to go do this, go do that. And to have to say no or I can't, kind of like coming to grips with your own weakness, like, okay, I can't do this. Like I think accepting that is just like part of it because I just want to think I can do everything. I'm 29, I should be able to do like whatever. And so I think just like recognizing your own weakness and then having to communicate that to others. So, to say, hey, I can't do this. I can't do that. My best friend and I were going to be going to Nashville in September was our plan to just have fun and like sightseeing things. And I lived in Nashville for a year, so I wanted to visit some people. But I am now in no shape after needing another knee surgery. I had screws that have broken and moved into the joint space. And so I needed another surgical repair. So to say no, and like, a Nashville trip, people are starving in Africa. What is a Nashville trip? But it was something I was looking forward to. And so I think just being able to say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't. And it's hard because I wish I could.
Yeah, I've said it before. I'll say it again. A great friend of mine back when I worked in parish ministry was making this point. Her husband was able to go on these just amazing trips for his work to cities I would love to go to, I would love to check out. And very often he said, if I don't have to go, I'd prefer not to go, because saying yes to an amazing trip meant saying no to time with his wife and children. And the lesson was every yes comes with a corresponding no to something else. It's really easy to focus on what we're missing out on. I mean, I was blessed to be able to go to the Eucharistic Congress. I was not able to participate in as much of it as I would have liked. If I would have gotten hung up on what I missed, I
Yeah.
probably would have ruined my Congress experience. Instead, I focused on, okay, it's a great grace just to even be able to be here and to participate in the things I have been able to participate in. This is something that as we were preparing for today's interview, you brought up. We have to stay focused on those gains. Why is that?
I would say just because that's what the Lord wants, right? Like there's evilness and goodness working throughout our lives on a daily basis. And so the Lord says, look for the good. That's what he did in his whole, earthly journey, was looking for the good, even when Pharisees were mistreating him, when people that he healed turned their back on them. He looked for the good in that moment, right? And brought the good and looked for the good. And that's what we can try to do and say, look at all these things I can't do anymore, or I want to do and I can't. But what am I gaining? Am I gaining closeness to God? Am I getting stronger in my faith? Am I focusing like on what you said, on what's most important in life? And so I think that's what the Lord asks us to do, is to try to see the good. And when we can't, to turn to prayer and say, hey, Jesus, I can't see any good in this situation. To me, this all sucks, but I trust you that this is going to get better and that there is good, even if I can't recognize it, but to attempt that and at least turn it over to prayer.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, especially for me, I find that in the 48 hours after I receive injection therapy, getting out of bed is a struggle for no other reason than I'm just zapped of energy. I'm incredibly tired. I keep falling asleep. I keep waking back up, and there's not much I can do. In days past, if maybe I was having trouble focusing on the good, I'd grab my guitar and I'd start singing some songs, or I'd go for a walk, or I'd go to the Adoration Chapel, any number of healthy outlets to really turn that situation around. But then when you're coming to grips with this reality of, I can't even do those things right now,
Yeah.
I can't be far from the bathroom. I can't be far from my room. I just don't have the energy to pick up a guitar and strum 6 strings and sing a song right now. It's really easy to go down a dark path and mentally be in a place where you're focused on so much negativity that depression sets in. And wow, it's a fight. And it's a fight that I never would have imagined I'd be going through this early in life. You brought up a point that Mother Angelica looked at these moments, and we love Mother Angelica, foundress of EWTN and her Poor Clare monastery down in Alabama. She suffered greatly too. And you mentioned that she looked at these moments as an invitation to go on retreat. And I have to tell you, Caitie, for the past few days as we've been prepping for this, that's really stuck with me that, yeah, no, I think of a retreat as I'm going to a retreat house with, possibly 40 other people, or we're going to a large congress with 60,000 other people, to an event. It's going to be a lot of stuff. I never thought a retreat would be me and Jesus for the next couple days, just hunkered down in my bedroom.
Yeah, and I actually, so I watch Mother Angelica almost daily still, like at night, just because her wisdom is just amazing. And I get so much peace watching her personally. And I actually heard that on an episode a few nights ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like it's a different way of looking at it. The Lord's inviting you to just kind of withdraw from the world, right? And we think of a retreat, like you said, as like a lot of people, a lot of action, like lots going on at the parish, versus like, it's a different mindset of like, how can this suffering and me being alone, and like you said, like almost locked in a room, not literally, but like, confined to a small area in your house to even function in. Like I can't do stairs anymore, so my bedroom's now on like the main floor. How is that bringing me closer to the Lord? Well, if you think about his life, he always went and retreated to gather that strength. And I think he invites us into that. And sometimes, this forces us to slow down and to look at him and to say, Jesus, like I can't do like a full rosary right now, but like maybe I can make the sign of the cross and just say, be with me. And that's enough. And there's some sort of grace and that's given to you to endure those moments when you are alone, because it's hard to be just kind of by yourself, even when you have family, but just like in those moments, like you said, where you're feeling horrible, he can be with you and stays close to you in those moments. And so it's a different way of trying to cope with that situation you're in.
I have a new appreciation for the agony in the garden. And I don't know about you,
Yeah.
because there are those times that, again, you can't go anywhere. And even with family in the house, and they're wonderful. Beth has been absolutely wonderful. The kids have been absolutely wonderful. But there are moments you wake up in the middle of the night and you don't want to wake anyone else up, and you're feeling alone, or everyone's like, do you need anything? And you thought you said everything you needed, and then 10 minutes later you need something. And all of a sudden there's a loneliness that sets in. And I keep coming back to one phrase: could you not keep watch with me but 1 hour? And I'm thinking, all I want is someone to be here right now. And I've got people in the house. And again, Beth and the kids, they're phenomenal. But even in that moment, they got distracted by the other tasks of daily living, like the cooking, the cleaning, the setting the table, the cleaning up the table. and I'm stuck where I'm at. And I'm like, wow, how many times do I get distracted in a day that Jesus is saying, Adam, could you not keep watch with me but 1 hour? And, oh, I'm doom scrolling on my phone or whatever it may be, that I get distracted by something else. And even in those moments of suffering, where it's an invitation to go on retreat with him, where it's an invitation to go deeper with him, I'm trying to self-medicate by saying, I'm just going to watch some shows to take my mind off this. Well, how about instead of taking your mind off it, take your mind right into it and go to Jesus and say, all right, here's where I'm at. Here's the situation. It's not pleasant. What are you trying to say to me in this moment? I wish I had the answers. I wish I could say, we figured it all out. Have you found anything useful in those times?
Yeah, like you said, I think there's a time and place for distraction, of, getting your mind off of things, right? But I do think that there is a time to dig in deeper, and to say, Lord, help me with this. I'm struggling. I don't understand. Be with me. I'm still learning. Like I feel like I thought I had moved through this, and now this is kind of a new phase for me of a new chapter of suffering. My knee last night was absolutely on fire and just burning, and nothing was taking it away. And I had tears because I was trying to stand up out of this chair, and I just couldn't put weight on it. It was so excruciating. And so I just had to, that's where your faith comes into action. It's a different type of adoration. I personally like to go to adoration and sit and ponder and pray, but it's like when you're like suffering, it's a different form of prayer. And I think changing our mindset, like it's not necessarily reciting a bunch of things. It's not even like sitting still, but it's just like a quick word of just like, Jesus, help me, or making a sign of the cross. And then just sitting in that and saying like, help me, like, help me, help me. And like, that's all you can do. But like, that is a prayer, even if you're not doing some sort of formalized prayer or anything with a certain posture. It's just the Lord can do a lot with that suffering. And I think in hindsight, like I think if we talk again in a year, I'll look back and be able to see what Jesus was doing in these moments where I'm like, this is just total awfulness, but I can't see it right now. So this is where I have to trust. And I think in time I'll be able to see it.
Yeah, a frequent prayer of mine is, Lord, please give me the grace to carry the cross well. And I
Yes.
hope that's what I'm doing. And with many in our listening audience, many friends and family filling the role of Simon of Cyrene and helping carry
Yes.
that cross. That's hard too, though. If we're being
Mm.
honest, letting others help, like we've been talking about feeling alone and needing help, and we're the ones that are used to helping. People say, we have this cause. Oh,
Yeah.
whatever you need me to do. You need me to MC a trivia night? We're there. You need me to take the trash out? We're there to take the trash out. Whatever it may be, we got it covered. Never, never have I thought I'll be the one on the receiving end of that. And if I'm being honest, I hate it. It's my pride. I absolutely hate it. And I am so grateful for everyone that's reaching out to help. And I'm so grateful for the help they're giving. But pride kicks in. And it's like, I don't want to need the help. It's difficult to answer that question sometimes. What do you need? And to come to that reality of, wow, I don't even know what I need. Like, I know I need things, but I can't put into words what it is that I need. I said to Beth the other day, I said, given the choice, I'd prefer not to have cancer. And she said, yeah, I'm sure you would, but you do. And here's where we are. So how's God going to work through this?
Yeah.
Does it get easier, to be on that receiving end?
Yeah, I'm right there with you because I'm just like, no, I want to do things myself. I want to be independent. I want to be good to go. And, when like Jesus says in scripture to visit the sick, and I had told you, I don't like being the sick visited, like I'll go visit someone else, I'll go do something. It's hard to like receive it, even though people are cheerful and want to. But yeah, it's tiring for them as well, probably just because it's like day over day over day. It doesn't get a whole lot better. Maybe there's small wins here or there, but just to consistently show up for somebody, that's building kind of a fruit within them, right? Because that's a challenge. Just because your own humanity, I'm sure, wear out, you get tired, you're like, oh, I wish things would turn around. And so it's doing something different in them than I think it's doing in the person that is like the sick one, so to speak. But I think the Lord works through both people in different ways, and both have to play their role for God's will to come about. And that's what's hard. It's like sometimes I'd like to pick a different role, but he gives out the assignments, not me.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I just don't think I'll get used to it. My brother pulled me aside and said, "You have to let people care for you. You don't have a choice. It's the thing to do. You just have to let people care for you." And my spiritual director said, "Your brother's right. You need humility. Stop being prideful." One of the things it's opened my eyes to, and this is where I love how God's working through this, things I've never thought of in the past. I love to think, oh, I'm going to be a great comforter to someone. I'm a wordsmith. I talk on radio for a living. I love to come up with what are we going to say in this situation. And so I've often held off on sending a card or sending a letter until I can get out exactly what I want to say, pen to paper. I've gotten so many cards that are enrollments with this religious order or that religious order that have no message other than the pre-formatted card. You have been enrolled in our perpetual prayers by, and then it has the name of who's enrolled me. And that's it. And oh, wow, what a great comfort that is. They didn't write a single word of their own other than Dear Adam at the top and let the card speak for itself. Here's the enrollment. How much time have I wasted, trying to bring comfort to someone until I could have the right thing to say, when really the comfort could have just been to let you know I'm thinking of you and that we've got people praying for you and we don't even need words. Those enrollments have been such a great comfort. And it's really opened my eyes to, wow, I had this wrong before and I need to adjust and get this right. What's a lesson that you've learned being on the receiving end that's probably going to change the way you go forward now?
There are things, it's like, oh, well, that might be kind of fun, or that goal might be kind of good. But also just like kind of pulling back from that and saying, well, what does God want me to do? And like remembering my limited time. I think that's what sticks out to me the most right now, is just like, I think with having this constant pain, it just reminds me of that I'm not just carefree living for the next, 50 some years. It reminds me of mortality, and to say, what am I doing with my time? And not that those things are bad things and goals are good, but what am I doing with the time that I have? What does God want me to do? And keeping focus on him versus like what kind of the crowd is saying or what other people my age are doing. Because it's easy to like kind of fall into that trap versus like staying on the path that God has for you, because it's very different. And then being okay with feeling different, right? Because if everyone else is over here and you're, kind of in your lane trying to follow God, you're not going to get a popularity award. You're going to have some people think that you're a little strange. People probably get tired of my religious posts on social media. I've been told that. And so, yeah, changing my attitude and remembering like I am here to please God and not what other people think or say or do. And so I think that's been a good reminder for me during this season.
Yeah. I love the lessons we've learned that I wish I would have paid more attention to before this current situation. And I would imagine you feel the same way with your knee. But if there were one piece of advice I wish that I would have taken in advance, it was the importance of having a crucifix pretty much in every room of the house. And we have crosses and crucifixes in our house. But wherever you're at when that sudden jolt of pain hits, every time I've had a crucifix to gaze upon in that moment, I know in my head, unite it with our Lord on the cross. Give him this suffering and say, Lord, please use it for some good. Use it for one of the holy souls that needs it. Use it for this intention, whatever it may be. But to have that visible reminder in every room to say, okay, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, I hurt, level 10, this is the worst. There's Jesus on the cross, and keep my eyes fixed upon him. That would be the one thing I wish I would have taken that a little bit more seriously and not just had a crucifix in our bedroom or one in our living room, but just all throughout the house. Get them out, put them up there. What do you think of?
Yeah, I think that's really great, because I think those holy reminders, as Mother Angelica called them, to remind yourself and to visually see something really, really helps. I would say to enjoy the simple things in life. People feel deprived, at least in the West, if you don't have an amazing European vacation planned, if you don't have an amazing, concert or the most prestigious school or like whatever it is, I didn't make, if you make a travel team, like whatever it is, we have all these things. And if you don't make them, then you feel bad about yourself. And it's like, enjoy the simple things. Like if you have a body that works and you can go on a walk, like you're blessed. If you have a roof over your head and you have food every day and you have, basic amenities, like you're blessed. And so I think I wish I would have really enjoyed like prior workouts I did that I was like, oh my gosh, the workout was so hard. And it's like now, like I struggle to literally walk across a room. So I think I wish I could have, taken those things and appreciated them more than I did now. Just the simple things of, exercise and making a meal, like that's living. And I'm not deprived if I, can't do a European cruise. I'm, appreciate just the small blessings the Lord gives you day over day that you overlook.
I got into this practice when we first started the radio show. It was one of our first guests, a Jesuit priest, was sharing about some of the devotions of St. Ignatius and adapting that to every day. What's one thing midday examine, what's one thing I'm grateful for that's happened today? And I used to tell people on the show all the time, it could be as simple as the way that cup of coffee, that first sip tasted in the morning. Yeah. It could be the sunrise. It could be that call, that you got a job, or you just heard from someone you haven't heard from in a while. It could be a big thing, little thing. But pick one thing midday and say, Lord, thank you for this concrete, nameable thing that happened today. There was a moment during the Eucharistic Congress where for about 5 minutes, I felt normal. Nothing was uncomfortable. Nothing hurt. I didn't feel tired. I didn't have a headache. I didn't have any anxiety going. I didn't have any fear, any depression, anything. I just felt normal. And I had forgotten what normal felt like. And wow, what a gift it was. It wasn't some extraordinary mountaintop moment that I used to think of in life. It was just a moment of not feeling bad. And what a great gift that moment was. And to accept those moments and say thank you. I miss pizza. I never thought I'd miss pizza because I never thought I'd, be in a place where I couldn't eat pizza. But things with tomatoes, for whatever reason, react poorly with the medication I'm on. And it's not fun. So no tomatoes, no spaghetti for Adam. And, I had a pizza about 2 weeks before I went into the hospital the first time. Had I known, I would have enjoyed that pizza a little bit more and just had more gratitude for that simple thing. And I think that's a great lesson you give us, to just not take those moments for granted. Don't underappreciate every little blessing that God sends your way throughout the day.
I think that's 100% true. And like you said, kind of that fasting now that you have to do that you didn't exactly want to do, like now you have to fast from pizza or fast from spaghetti. And I'm the same way. I actually got a ton of food allergies after I got the COVID shot. And then I got COVID, in 2020, and I got a bunch of food allergies and I had to give up some of my favorite foods. And that's very challenging as well, just because you want to have it. It's your favorite food. But to say, this is a little mini offering, I can't have this anymore, but I'm gonna throw that up to you, Lord, do something with it.
Yeah. Well, I imagine you're never going to look at all of those long walks that maybe you had to go across campus. Oh, it's so far to get to this class, the same ever again. And all those times that, we don't have anything. We didn't get to the grocery store. I'm just going to cobble something simple together from the fridge. What I wouldn't give for some of those something simple from the fridge right now that are just completely off limits. It doesn't need to be 5-star. Great lessons. And I love that St. John Paul II, by the way, he said God will use these things. When you start taking it for granted, he's going to find a way to open your eyes if you let him. Never would have thought it'd be like this. I imagine you were thinking, all right, we'll do all these surgeries, the knee, it'll be hard, it'll be fine, it'll be done. Here you are a year or so later, doing it again. But praise God, as much as these situations stink, praise God for these situations because he's working through it. And I just thought of that passage from St. Paul, in all circumstances, give thanks, for that is the will of God. And I would encourage you watching, those of you listening on the radio or the podcast, the good, the bad, the ugly, give thanks to God for it because he can work through it in your life and he can draw you closer to him if you let him. Caitie, let's remind our listeners where they can go to learn more about you and about the things you've done in life.
Yeah, absolutely. CaitieCrowley.com. And I spell Katie CaitieCrowley.com. And I've written two books. My first book is called Stepping Up, about my car accident and my journey through redemptive suffering. And then a little kid's book called I Have a Friend in Heaven. So yeah, more details can be found on CaitieCrowley.com.
All right. Well, thank you for taking the time for being with us on Roadmap to Heaven today. I look forward to the next time you and I get to speak. Hopefully, it'll be about recovery and healing and feeling back better to normal, and not about being in the midst of suffering. Let's make that our goal. But it's great to have the grace of others walking through the valley of suffering and bringing that comfort to one another. Thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.